Leetcode 326, power of 3. Given an integer n, return true if it is a power of 3, otherwise return false. Okay, so without going through this detail here, all it's saying is that if the number is divisible by 3, that's all it means, right? So like 27 is divisible by 3. So it's 81, and so on, right? 9 as well, right? But for example, 28 is not divisible by 3. It is divisible by 2 and by 7, but it's not divisible by 3. And that in that case, you return a false. Like here, 0 is false, and so on, right? So basically, for this problem, the best solution is basically to take the number and repeatedly divide by 3. So, if you start with 27, if you divide by 3, you're going to get 9, right? It goes to 9, and so on, right? And then 9, and then you divide by 3, and it goes to 3, and so on, right? Eventually, you're going to end up ending up at 1. So therefore, in this function here, what you need to do is basically you start with a number n, right? You divide it, make sure the remainder, right, is 0, right? And then you keep repeating that. So basically you have a while loop, right? And you can actually use the same number, n, and so while the n is greater than 3, because once you're at 3, then it's going to be your last iteration. So basically you keep reducing n, right? And then eventually you're gonna find out whether n is divisible by 3 or not by doing this check. This is the following check. So if n is equals to 1, right? Like as you can see down here, eventually it becomes 1. Then you return true. Otherwise, it's false. So for example, let's say if you start with let's say a 12, right? So 12 divided by 3 gives you a 6, right? A 4, sorry. Let's say 18, for example, right? 18, if you divide by 3, gives you a 6, right? And divide 6 by 3 gives you a 2, but 2 is not divisible, right? I mean, it's basically, yeah, so in this case, this one will fail this check here, right? So let's just go through the code. So while that is true, so this is going to look a little bit complicated, but basically what I want to do is we want to divide by 3, right? And then the integer portion of this, you want to multiply by 3, right? And if that is equals to itself, then we're good, right? But if it's not equals, right? If it's not equals, then we want to basically return false, right? Okay. So as an example here, let's say if you have 28, right, and you divide by 3, let's say 27, right? So 27 divided by 3, right? So n is 27 divided by 3, that gives you a 9, and then you multiply again by 3, that gives you back to 27, right? If that is equal to 27, then we keep going, right? Then we basically, if we keep going and keep dividing, and then basically we want to keep dividing the n, right? So n is equals to itself divided by 3. Okay, so this is itself divided by 3. If that is not true, so for example, if this is 28, right? Okay, so if 28 divided by 3, if you take the integer part of it, which is 9, times 3 is 27, right? But 27 is not equal to 28, right? So in that case, then we stop. Okay, so in order to do that, there's a function called math truncate, because otherwise this will not give you an integer portion. So this gives you an integer portion, right? You multiply by 3. If that's not equals to n, then return false. Otherwise, you keep dividing by 3, and then this n keeps reducing until it hits 3. Or if it's 3 less than 3, right, which means you can fall in this kind of case scenarios, then you drop out the loop, and then you just check the n. If it's equals to 1, then return true. Otherwise, return false. So let's run this. accept it. Yeah, that's a very simple one. Thank you very much.